In the story of Mice and Men, the overarching conflict is that George always has to accommodate for Lenny and put him ahead of himself, allowing him to win and not get in trouble. The reader can interpret this based off of when George says, "I wish I could put you in a cage" to Lenny in chapter 1. The conflict type that I chose is person versus person between Lenny and George. They both have an external conflict because of it being a person versus person. And the first major event that took place in the book would be Lenny pulling on a woman's dress and not releasing, getting in trouble in their old town weed, which would force them to move to where they are now. The second would be killing the puppy in the barn and trying to hide it, which led to Curly's wife coming into the barn. And the third event would be Lenny murdering Curly's wife and leaving to the ditches, which is vividly described in chapter 5 with, and the meanness and the plannings and the discontent and the ache for attention were all gone from her face. Their conflict came to a head when Lenny killed Curly's wife and George had to come after him and kill him peacefully, which George hints at in chapter 6 before killing him by saying, "Ain't gonna be no more trouble, nobody gonna hurt nor steal from him," so that he didn't end up getting tortured by Curly. The immediate aftermath of this conflict was that Lenny and George could not fulfill their dream together in having their own land and farm, because George had to take matter into his own hands and shoot Lenny. In the end, I believe, in a way, nobody was successful because Lenny died and George had to murder and lose his best friend. Even with all the trouble that he had caused him in the past, and even through all that, he still appreciated Lenny, as said in chapter 3. In quotes, George spoke proudly, referring to Lenny. But there is also a part of me that believes George will be better off because he will have less obstacles on his path to success. He will also not have someone looking to him for instruction or help, as stated in chapter 2. Lenny was looking helplessly to George for instruction. The conflict tied into my selected theme because in this case the American dream is that one day they would make it to the farm, which they were cut short of, and they were left with shattered dreams, never to be obtained, which is somewhat foreshadowed in chapter 4 with, "Nobody never gets to heaven and nobody gets no land."